Okay, can we make a deal as a country and as a people and as a world? Can we please understand that in order to lift somebody else up, you don't have to tear another person down? Can we please do that? Can we please do that? I'm only asking because some of the conversations around Travis Hunter is annoying. People are saying, "Oh, he's mid at both positions. Just because he played a lot doesn't mean he's great." Da, 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 da. Dude, yes. Is he the best cornerback in college football? No. Is he the best receiver in college football? No. But he's up there in both, and that's what y'all are not getting. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great day to discuss other people's excellence. I am the unforgettable one himself, Mr. Brett Carroll, and I'm just a guy that likes daydreaming at work. Okay, or BSing at work, I should say. I'm sorry. We miss you, Charles. Um, all right, the college football playoff is here. We know who's going to be playing. We know the brackets. We know everything. We got to dive into this. This was a great college football season. We're going to get to. I was going to do this last week. This was done last week, but then I realized one, the Heisman's coming up, so let me just wait because whoever wins was going to be controversial, and so we'll obviously talk about that. Two, there was a story that I'm going to talk about in here that I wanted a little bit more information on, and I have that information now, and we're good to go. Um, on that. And so that's what I was waiting for. I was going to do this Sunday night so you guys can have this on Monday, but my computer was a little slow and needed to be updated. So here we are. We're here. We're going to do this. It's all good. Let's get into this. And I'm kind of glad that my computer didn't work because Monday morning we got breaking news. Drew Alar has decided to come back to school for his senior year. Um, Yeah, he made the surprising decision on Monday to return to school for his senior year. He was getting first round buzz, and with a strong playoff performance and a strong offseason campaign, I really think he would have moved up his draft stock. Um, if you've watched my mock drafts, especially the last one, I talked about Drew Lock, and I talked about how I truly, truly believed by the time we got to April, he could have been the number one pick in the draft. And the reason why I believe that is because he is the one guy that I think has the most upside and has a good floor and has everything you want. He's got the prototypical size. He's a huge quarterback, like 6'4", 235 or something like that. He's got a strong arm. He's got the arm talent. He was made for cold weather. He's from Ohio. He's playing at Penn State, so he's, perfect for no matter if you play in the dome or outside. You feel comfortable with a guy like this, and he can make all those throws. He showed it again in the Big Ten championship game. Fourth down, game on the line, defender literally hanging on by his shirt on his waist, and he sidearm slings a absolute dime in between two defenders for a touchdown. And that's the type of stuff that if he would have done that again in the college football playoffs, and not to mention, he has a really good path. He plays SMU. Then if he wins that, they play Boise State. And then if he wins that, he plays Georgia in the semifinals. I think they would lose to Georgia. However, if he lights up SMU, if he lights up Boise State, and if he plays well against Georgia, basically do the same thing he did against Oregon in the Big Ten game, Big Ten championship game. Play well, hold his own, keep him in the game, and then just make one or two of those, oh my goodness, did you see that throws, right? That's all he had to do. And he and scouts would have been buzzing about him. He was already starting to get first round buzz. And then again, he has all the arm talent. Like I said, that throw against Oregon in the Big Ten championship game, that was a Mahomes-esque throw, a Josh Allen-esque throw. He can do those. And I really feel like if, when he gets to the combine, when he gets to this pro days and he gets to show off his arm talent a little bit more, I think scouts would have been like, nah, this is the guy. Um, Especially in his weaker class. Um, And so this is a surprising decision to me. It really is. Next year's class, Arch Manning's going to be the number one pick in the draft. It doesn't matter what happens. Unless he completely wets the bed next year, he will be the number one pick in the draft. Um, so maybe if he goes back to school and has a strong campaign next year, he can still be the number two quarterback in next year's draft. Maybe I just liked his chances way more this year. Um, when scouts are kind of looking for an answer at that top spot for a quarterback. Uh, and so it's a surprising move in my opinion. It really is. 'Cause I really think that he was set up perfectly to really take advantage of the college. And that's another thing. He's in the college football playoff basically by himself, right? All the other quarterbacks that are even in the conversation for top five picks are not in the playoff. There's no Colorado, so there's no Shador. There's no Miami, so there's no Cam Ward. There's no Alabama, so there's no Jalen Milroe. The only other guy that could have even done anything to help himself at this point was Quinn Ewers at Texas. And I just don't see Quinn Ewers at Texas doing all that much to raise his stock. I really don't. And matter of fact, if you're Quinn Ewers, you're probably ecstatic at this decision because now you are in the best position to move up your draft stock. If you perform well in the possible playoff, and they're a team that, is one of the favorites to win it. Let's say they win it and he plays really well in the three games that he's going to have to play to win it, and then combine, pro day, whatever. He can move up. He can move up. He can now be QB3 in my opinion. I don't think he can be QB1 or two the way Drew Allar could do it, just because he's just been so inconsistent and there's the injury issues. And I feel like even if they win, they might win. He doesn't have to perform well for them to win. If Penn State's going to win, Drew Allar is going to have to perform really well. Um, and so, I just don't see Quinn Ewers doing all that much to really boost up his stock. I mean, again, he can because Quinn Ewers could also make some really good throws. Um, but yeah, again, this is a weird decision to me, and I think it also goes to the fact that college football needs to change the deadlines for some of these decisions. I believe his backup, Drew Allar's backup quarterback, a couple days ago announced that he was transferring, and which probably should have told me then that Drew Allar was coming back. Because why else would he transfer if he didn't know that Allar was coming back, right? But I think part of the issue is these kids have to kind of make these decisions now. And maybe Drew Allar is sitting there and he's saying, well, I'm still getting end of first, early second vibes. What if we don't, what if I don't play well in the playoffs? Let me just make the decision now to go back to school, and not put that pressure on myself. And if I do play well in the college football playoff, great. That gives me even more buzz going into next year. And then if I play well again next year, I could really help myself. My issue, so yeah, the college football playoff, I mean, college football needs to change this because I think a lot of kids are having to make, really tough decisions before the college football playoff even starts. And I think we need to change that. That's one. But then going back to the decision itself, I'm never gonna kill a kid for going back to school. You know what I mean? Like, okay, go back to school, do your thing, especially with NIL. So it's not like he's foregoing money to go back to school. He's gonna get some NIL money to go back. But again, I said before, I think in the mock draft videos when I talked about it, if he goes back to school, I would want him to transfer because I just don't like Penn State as a place to truly showcase his talent. Their offense is just too vanilla. It's run first. It's tight end stuff. They don't have a lot of good, wide receiver weapons. Like when's the last time like Jahad Dotson, I think, was a good receiver that came out of Penn State. But before that, when's the last time we've talked about like a Penn State receiver? Um, they just don't have an offense that's going to showcase his skill set the way he needed to be shown off in order to become a top pick in the draft, which is why really I thought the combine and His pro day was going to be his best option to showcase his talent. But again, this year in the college football playoff, he has a great chance to put up monster numbers against SMU and Boise State. And then again, if he plays well against Georgia, that will do it. And that's another thing going to Penn State. Next year, we can't guarantee they're going to be in the college football playoff again. Like, this was a down year for Michigan. This was a down year for Ohio State. I believe both of them will be better next year. James Franklin, for some reason, just can't seem to beat those teams or any big game. So to me, like I said, this was his best chance to take advantage of the situation. Going back to Penn State to me makes no sense. It's a better quarterback class. So you have Arch Manning, you got a Nico, whatever his name is from Tennessee. There's other guys. I'm sure there's, just like every college football season, there's always going to be a riser that comes out of nowhere. So you have more competition. Penn State, I think, is going to be in a better Big Ten next year than it was this year, which means there's the chances of him making the college football playoff are slimmer. Um, uh, and again, Penn State's offense just doesn't showcase his skill set. And he's been getting better and better and better. He's been working with his quarterback coach and he's been working on his mechanics. So he was a guy that was really sporadic and inconsistent, and he's shown great improvement in that, which is great. And I'm sure that he will continue to show that next year. But again, I just don't see him being in a position like he is right now to fully take the reins as potential QB1. I just don't see it. Again, next year, Arch Manning's going to be QB1 no matter what, right? His name is Arch Manning. We've been talking about this kid for years. He's Trevor Lawrence, right? No matter what he does, he's going to be the number one pick in the draft next year. So again, this is a head scratching decision. I think this was made because as of right now, he's just now getting first round buzz, and it's early. I mean, it's late first round buzz for the most part. Um, and so I think because of the timing, I think he had to make a decision, and he decided that this is the best decision for him. I mean, again, kudos to him. I'm never gonna fault a kid for going back to school. I just think that was a bad decision. I think you go out there, you ball out. Oh, and again, and not to mention it's football. He could get hurt next year. Then what, right? I just think you go out this year, ball out in the playoffs, and let that and the off-season workouts propel you to a top five pick. That's just me. All right. This is college basketball, but we got to talk about it. Another interesting decision in the world of basketball. The number one basketball recruit, AJ Bonanza, yeah, I guess that's how you say it, um, made a shocking decision to commit to BYU for the 2025 season. He will reportedly be getting $7 million in NIL money, and he made it clear that he thinks his best chance to go to the NBA is through BYU because they have former NBA coaches and players on their coaching staff, and so he believes that this gives him the best chance to, get to the league. Some people have a problem with it. Some people have a problem with NIL culture and what it's doing to the college game. I gotta be honest with you, I love all of it. I do. I'm gonna talk about that later when we get into the college football stuff. But I think NIL has been a great equalizer. Um, it's going to be a lot more parity because that's the thing. BYU got money, right? BYU has money. I'm gonna talk about another story later about schools that got money. And so I really do think that with NIL and it being an open market, it gives a lot more teams the ability to compete because they could just throw the money at these kids and they'll go there. And look, as a Rutgers fan, I'm not going to, who has two top three recruits on their team. I'm not going to be mad that a random school like BYU has a top kid. I love it. I think that's great for college. It gives more schools an opportunity to be good. I for one, I'm tired of seeing the same old blue bloods winning all the time, whether it's football or basketball. I love seeing some of these smaller schools build something. And that's the beautiful thing about sports in general, especially college. All it takes is one. All it takes is one guy to go there and turn the school around, and now they're the new blue blood. They're the new team that everybody goes to. Think about Clemson. It wasn't too long ago, Clemson was not considered a creme de la creme school for football. Nobody was going to Clemson to play football. They were always like decent, but they were never a perennial contender. Dabo made them a perennial contender. Um, yeah, we've seen that before, and they're not the first. They're not going to be the last. Again, as a Rutgers fan, I'm hoping that Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey are highly successful and continue to build off of what Corey Sanders and Ron Harper Jr. and others were building the foundation for. I hope Rutgers is going to continue to be a perennial powerhouse that top recruits go to, right? But you got to start somewhere. And so I love this for BYU. I love this for him. I love it. When Kai went to Duke, Kai was like the first quote, like one and done, and he low key made Duke cool. Now everybody goes to Duke. Like it's got to start somewhere, and so I love this for BYU. I love this for him. I love this for college basketball because I think this is great. I really do. Like I know people are, they hate it, and it breaks the tradition of what we've seen. But again, I think it's the ultimate equalizer. We're going to get a lot more parity. We're going to get a lot more intrigue because it's not just going to be the same people going to the same places every year. Boom. Speaking of, I'm going to just say it right now. People say, "Oh, Brett, you never want to admit when you're wrong." I said, "No, that's not true. I admit when I'm wrong all the time. Just because I'm rarely wrong doesn't mean I don't want to admit when I'm wrong." Um, I was wrong. I was wrong. And I'm glad to say I was wrong. If you've been watching any of these pods, every time we talked about this, I was vehemently against the 12 team playoff. I thought it was the stupidest thing in the world because for the most part, we didn't even have 4 or 5 good teams in college football, right? Like for the most part, it was hard to find 5 to 6 good teams that could make the college football playoff. So what the heck we going to 12 for, right? I didn't want to see teams that are not good making the playoff. But again, I was wrong. I was wrong. What I did not realize was that with NIL, with the transfer portal, and even with the new super conferences, I did not realize that we would get this much parity this quickly. Eventually, I thought we would get there, but I did not think that we would get this much parity this quickly, where we legit have. And yeah, there's some teams in there that we don't expect to win, but that's fine. That's every tournament and every sport. Um, but we legit had controversy at the back end of this college football playoff. And granted, you can make the argument no matter what that's going to happen, right? Even in March Madness, there's 68 teams and there's always a discussion about who got in and who didn't. But let's be real. Some of that is like, who cares? We're talking about teams 60 to 68. They're not going to win anyway, right? Alabama didn't make this. We'll talk about that in a second. Alabama didn't make the playoffs. Um, there's some good teams that didn't make the playoffs. There's some really good teams that did make it. There's legit, let's see, Oregon, Georgia, obviously, uh, Texas, Ohio State, and Tennessee are interesting. There's legit 4 or 5, maybe even 6 teams I could legit see winning this thing. And that's all I want, right? That's all I want. That's all I care about. I didn't want it to be the same thing as it is every year, where there's 2 good teams and everybody else is just there just to be there. And we're wasting our time and we're about to get a whole bunch of bad games. Ohio State, Tennessee is going to be a great game. I think SMU, Penn State will be a great game. Texas, Clemson has a chance to be a really good game. And then not to mention whoever plays Oregon, that's going to be a good game. Uh, if Oregon and Georgia makes it to the finals, that's going to be a great game. Again, I just if Oregon and Texas makes it to the semifinal, that should be a good game. That's all we want to see is good games. We weren't even getting that in a 14 playoff. I didn't think we would get that in a 12-team playoff. Again, I was on the obviously we got to see the games. If it could be all for nothing, and we could get a bunch of boring blowouts anyway. But as of right now, this looks like a really fun bracket, and this looks like a bunch of good teams in the college football playoffs. There's some good teams that didn't make it, and I just love the idea of what this is going to be going forward. Because again, it's only going to get better with NIL, with the transfer portal, with some of these super conferences. I think we're going to get a lot more parity, and I'm all for it. I really am. And most importantly, we're also going to get that controversy because I do think college sports in general, especially college football, the controversy is the entertainment. Who got in? Who didn't get in? Why did this team get in? Why did this team not get in? Every year, whether it was the BCS championship game, then the college football playoff, and now this, you wanted that controversy. That was another reason why I didn't think the 12-team playoff made sense. Because to be honest, I thought most years we're gonna know for the most part the 12 teams that should get in, and even if there is a team that didn't get in, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. It was a big deal this year, and I love that. And I hope that continues every year because that's what makes college football so fun. And yeah, again, I was wrong, and I'm proud to say I was wrong. I'm very excited about this college football playoff, and I hope it goes well. There's some things that they're gonna have to fix, but yeah, but I think it's gonna be great. All right, so let's talk about that. The biggest and really only controversy this year was between Alabama and SMU. On one hand, Alabama had a monster schedule and beat some really good teams, but they did lose to some bad teams as well. SMU, however, had a really weak schedule and didn't beat anyone of note. However, they were in the ACC championship game and lost on a 56-yard field goal at the buzzer against Clemson. So, should strength of schedule matter, or should playing for a conference championship matter more? This year, the conference championship game was the difference. Um, I do think they're gonna have to fix some things, and it's year one, so that's okay, right? This is why we do these things to figure out what's working, what's not working. I do think one of the issues is you're doing the seeding thing, but also the ranking thing. So, like for instance, Alabama was technically, matter of fact, can you see it on this one? No, you don't see it on this one. Okay, well, yeah, we're going to talk about that second. All right, let's just focus on this. I do think they need to fix that because I do think you want these teams scheduling good opponents, right? You don't want a team to say, well, screw that. I'm going to get a bunch of cupcake out of conference games because we need to make sure that we get to the conference championship game if that's what's more important. Because again, we want the regular season to matter. We want good games in the regular season. And the one thing about this year was there were some really great weekends, and then there were some really poor, lackluster weekends because there were some weekends where nobody was playing anybody of note, and there was other weekends where everybody was playing each other, and it was great. And so, I do think they need to change that where strength of schedule has to mean something. I do get that they want championship games to mean a lot too. I get that, right? You want to reward people for winning your championship, for winning their conference. But that's the thing, they didn't win the conference. So I don't know. I just I don't know what the right answer is here. To me, I think strength of schedule should matter more. Only because, to be fair, not every conference is created equal. No offense to the ACC, it was not as good as the SEC. It just wasn't. And that's just not being SEC biased. It's the truth. Clemson won the conference and was technically ranked 16th, but they got in because they won the conference. And I get it. You do want to at least reward conference winners, but that's the point. A conference loser that didn't play anybody, that lost to the 18th ranked team in the country, got in. that's kind of, and I get it. They played a really good game and they lost on the 56-yard field goal at the buzzer. To me, I just have a hard time saying that that team deserved to get in. I'm just, especially when again they didn't beat anybody that was good all year. Clemson was probably the best team that they played and barely lost to. And so I don't know. It's a hard decision to make. I would rather see a team that went through the gauntlet get in than a team that got to coast through a lesser than conference and get in, especially when they didn't win it. If they won it, that's different. Because, if they won it, that's different. Um, because you could only play who's on your schedule and you could only play who's in your conference. It's not your fault that your conference ain't good, right? But they didn't win it. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. That's really hard. It's really hard. So yeah, like I said, changes need to be coming. I don't mind it not being perfect in year one, but I do think they really evaluate how the year played out and make some proper adjustments. To me, the biggest thing is you got to get rid of the automatic buys and bids for conference winners. But it never made sense to me. If your conference is good and you win that conference, then your record will get you in regardless. The automatic bid is dumb, in my opinion. Two, the seating juxtaposed to the rankings makes no sense. Make it all the same number and save yourself the backlash. I can see how that's really going to be an issue in the future. So again, I have this picture. You can see these are the standings for the bracket, but these are their rankings in terms of where they are, in terms of the actual ranking. So you see here, one and two are fine, right? Oh, Oregon was the number one team in the country, Georgia was the number two team in the country, and they're ranked one and two in the bracket. But here we go. Arizona State was technically ranked 12th, but because they're a conference winner and the way it worked, the four highest conference winners got automatic buys. They're fourth in the bracket. Boise State, ranked ninth. Because they're a conference winner and the four highest conference winners get automatic buys, they're third. Um, Clemson was ranked 16th, but they won their conference, so they're automatically in. Again, Alabama was technically ranked 11th. So in a 12-team college football playoff, the 11th ranked team didn't get in. And I think even if you go back, who else got in? I think SMU was technically ranked 13th and they got in. Um, so yeah, again, it's just it's very messy, and it wasn't that big of a deal this year because only one team got screwed over in it. But my God, I think that's going to be a problem going forward. And then even again, if we go back, if you're Oregon, you're pissed because I'm technically supposed to be playing the worst teams, but like again, because of the way this thing is bracketed, I got the worst matchup. I was undefeated all year. I think they were undefeated. Number one, looked like the best team in college football all year. And I have by far the hardest matchup going forward because again, the way this thing is set up with bracket ranking versus national ranking, these two teams were the 8 and 9 seed, and they probably shouldn't be the 8 and 9 seed. Whereas if you're Georgia, you basically got the best deal because you're gonna face either SMU, either Boise State or Penn State or SMU, which I think they could beat easily. And Notre Dame's pretty good, assuming they win, and they should give Georgia a challenge. But again, it shouldn't be as big a challenge as Ohio State and Tennessee. Remember when Ohio State went to Oregon and lost by like what 1 point, I think it was. Like I'm just saying, like it's kind of unfair the way this is set up. So I do hope that they fix that going forward so that that's not an issue um down the line because I can see where this is gonna get real nasty in some years where a team that's not good at all is getting a bye, and other teams don't even make the playoffs that are really good, but they didn't win their conference championship and all this other stuff, so they didn't even get in. Um, then another team that's really good but didn't win their conference championship has a gauntlet of a tournament. When in reality, we believe that they're probably like the second or third best team in the country, but they didn't win their conference. And yeah, I could just see it get real bad. So I do think they need to change that. I understand you want to reward conference championships, so fine. If you win your conference, you get in. But I don't think you should automatically get a bye. I don't think you should automatically get. I don't even think you should automatically get a higher seed, to be honest. If you win your conference, you get in. Good for you, right? But all the other stuff, I think you should let it play itself out. Because again, that way you reward scheduling, you reward good teams, you reward good teams that are beating other good teams. Um, I think that's what they got to do. Prediction: I have Georgia winning it all this year simply because they have the easiest path. Again, the way the seeding rankings worked, unfortunately, Georgia benefited from being the number two seed while Oregon got royally screwed. Not to mention the championship game is in Atlanta, so they'll get basically another home game. I do think it's going to be a good game between Oregon and Georgia, with the Bulldogs beating the Ducks 30-27 to win it all. All right, so now let's talk about this Heisman. Two-way star Travis Hunter won the Heisman Trophy on Saturday. Hunter took college football world by storm this year by being a fantastic two-way player, playing both wide receiver and cornerback for the Buffaloes. Boise State running back Aston Genty had a record-setting year and could have easily won the award. And they both were great. But some of the conversations around this is a little heartbreaking to say the least. Okay, can we make a deal as a country and as a people and as a world? Can we please understand that in order to lift somebody else up, you don't have to tear another person down? Can we please do that? Can we please do that? I'm only asking because some of the conversations around Travis Hunter is annoying. People are saying, "Oh, he's mid at both positions. Just because he played a lot doesn't mean he's great." Da, 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 da. Dude, yes, is he the best cornerback in college football? No. Is he the best receiver in college football? No. But he's up there in both, and that's what y'all are not getting, right? Even in this upcoming draft, right? He's not the number one wide receiver prospect. That's Tedero McMillan. But I would argue he's two, if not three. If you want to put Luther Burden over him, fine. But he's no shorter than three. Is he the best corner prospect? No, that's Will Johnson. But you can argue he's two, if not three. I would put him at three. I think Ben Morrison is probably a better cornerback prospect. But that's the point. If you draft this kid, you're getting a top three wide receiver prospect and a top three corner prospect. So if you're playing him at both, for the sake of argument, if he's gun ho, that's the word. If he's gun ho on playing both at the next level, it probably drops him to a top five prospect at both because you're not going to be as good at both positions as you would if you just focused on one, right? Okay, so fine. If he's playing both, maybe he's the fourth best receiver because maybe you say Isaiah Bond is now better. And maybe he's the fourth best corner because maybe you say Siobhan Ravel is better. But still, that still shows how good this kid is. That at worst, he's still a top five prospect at both receiver and corner. And he's top three if he focuses on just one. That's how good this kid is. And so this whole thing of, oh, that's so stupid. He was mid at both. We're just giving him a participation award because he played both. Who cares? No, don't do that. Don't do that. He was very deserving of the Heisman. What he did was amazing. Being a top corner and a top receiver at both is incredible, especially the amount of snaps he played, the amount of time he was playing. Come on, stop it. Again, Ashton Genty was great. And if he won the award, I would also say he deserved the award. But we don't have to kill one guy to elevate the other. Because guess what? If Genty would have won, we would be saying the same thing. Oh, he played at Boise State. Oh, he got way too many touches. Of course, he had those numbers. Look at the touches. Da, 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 da. Bro, what Ashton Genty did was amazing. He also was a deserving winner. Both these guys had Heisman years. Unfortunately, only one of them can win it. Period. So let's stop the nonsense with trying to tear down one guy to make your case for the other. Make your case for the other guy. If you think Ashton Genty should win, make your case for him. But you don't have to tear down Travis Hunter to do it. We gotta stop doing that. It's really it's very elementary school argument making, where you gotta tear down one guy to boost the other one. Because to be honest with you, if that's the only thing you can do is tear down the other guy to make the other guy look good, to me that means your argument's not that good. To me that means your guy's not that good. If you can't just base it strictly on his merits, if you got to tear down the other guy to do it, that's to me that means your guy is not as good as you think he is. That's just me. That's just me. If he's that good, just base it on his merits. You don't got to tear down the other dude to do it. So congratulations, Travis Hunter. Well deserved. Well deserved. Ashton Genty, also great year, fantastic year. You know, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Um, but yeah, Travis Hunter is great. I think he's gonna be great at the next level. Uh, and what he did was special, bro. It really was. It really was. All right, so now let's talk about my Bobcats. You feel me? Oh, you, oh yeah. For the first time, my Ohio Bobcats are MAC conference champions, baby. And I love it. I say the first time because I don't count chips before the modern era. I don't want to hear that. All you Browns fans that say, well, we got NFL championships. I don't care about that. Do you got Super Bowls? No. Giants fans talking about, oh, we got some NFL chips. How many Super Bowls do you have? I don't care about stuff that happened before we were even thought about when our grandparents were babies. Come on, man. I want to know what you're doing now. What you're doing now when we're all watching and we're all paying attention. Ohio has never won the MAC championship in my eyes. The last one was 1960 something. Stop it. My father was a child and I'm 32. Don't do that. This is our first championship and I love it, man. This team wasn't supposed to be good this year. They lost like their entire defense. Um, their QB left for Indiana. By the way, shout out to Curtis Rourke playing really well for Indiana. They are in the college football playoff. Shout out to him. They were predicted to finish towards the bottom of the conference, but they had another 10-win season, and we blew out Miami of Ohio, our arch rival, Battle of the Bricks, to win our first MAC championship. By the way, they blew us out earlier in the year. And that was our one bad loss this year where it was getting dicey if we're going to make the MAC championship game at all. Shout out to them for avenging the loss, blowing them out, winning their first third. Like, that's how you do it, man. I'm so super proud of this team. Super proud of my school. Oh you, oh yeah. I'm super stoked. And again, I'm just really happy, man. I need to shout out my Bobcats for winning the MAC. Oh you, oh freaking yeah. All right. Gotta talk about this too. Bittersweet day in a what I can only describe as a head scratching move. Head coach Tim Albin left Ohio University for Charlotte. The news came after just hours after we had won our first ever MAC championship game. And my simple question is why? No offense to Charlotte, but football wise, this move makes no sense. None. Tim Albin was, I think, a three-time MAC coach of the year, including this year. Tim Albin has had three 10-win seasons, including this year. Tim Albin had went to the MAC championship game twice, including this year, and then obviously we won it all this year. If the goal was to move up in the ranks and get a head coaching job at a bigger school and a bigger school and a bigger school, where he was perfect. You're in not just MAC territory, you're in Big Ten territory. A lot of these MAC schools play these Big Ten schools early in the year. So the Big Ten knows about these schools. They know about these coaches. They know about these players. Again, our quarterback transferred to Indiana. So they know about these schools, these coaches, these players. If the goal was just to simply, again, I understand OU is not the final destination for this man. I get that. I'm not saying he's supposed to stay at OU forever. What I'm saying is he was building something special down in Athens. And if he continued to play there, to coach there and continue to win at a high level, I have to believe a big time school was going to come knocking soon. Even if it is an Indiana-esque school, even if it is a Minnesota-esque school, even if it is a Northwestern-esque school, fine. But my point is, if you want to get to the Ohio States of the world and the Michigans of the world and the Georgias of the world and the Alabamas of the world, that's the that's the projection. All right. You dominate at Ohio University, then you go to like a mid-tier Big Ten school and dominate there, and then you get the big call. So football wise, to me, this was a very weird move because it's not I don't even think it's a lateral move. I think you're going backwards. You're going from the kings of the MAC conference to the bottom of the American conference. And you can, I guess, say that the American conference is a better group of five conference than the MAC. But I would say one, not by much. And two, I don't even know if that's true anymore. The American Conference lost a lot of schools over the last couple of years in conference realignment. Every time the Big 12 or the ACC or some of these other schools were plucking, schools to add to their conference, they were doing it from the American. So to me, the MAC, if they weren't already, was going to be the best out of conference. I mean, group of five conference. Not to mention their deal with ESPN. Great recruiting tool. For those of y'all who don't know, every Tuesday and Wednesday in October they play MAC games on ESPN and ESPN2. You're on national television. Great recruiting tool. Again, great way to get yourself noticed. Um, so again, football wise, this makes no sense to me. Makes no sense to me. And so especially the timing of it. The news broke after the MAC championship game, which means he probably signed beforehand, and they were just keeping it under wraps until the game was over. Um, by the way, I love how blurry this image is because to me, this is a blurry situation. I don't understand what's going on, right? And I don't think it was money either. It's college football. I know a lot of you saying, guys, obviously it was money. Or Brett, obviously it was money. I don't think so. Ohio's got money, y'all. Trust. Ohio's got money. It's been 10 years since I graduated. Oof. Oh, it's been 10 years since I graduated. Time is an illusion. Anyway, it's been 10 years since I graduated. Even within the first 5 years that I graduated, Ohio did a lot. They put brand new dorms. They remodeled my old dorm, James Hall. Tuition has gone up. Enrollment has gone up. Ohio's been spending money, and Ohio's been making themselves a destination. And Ohio's got money. Trust me, they got some good boosters. They got some great alumni. They have money. I believe Charlotte has money too. Again, I don't know Charlotte as a school, but I know Charlotte as a city. If you don't know anything about Charlotte as a city, it's a big financial hub, right? A lot of people are moving down there. It's a growing city. but it's big in the financial industry. A lot of banks have their headquarters down there. A lot of hedge funds has their headquarters down there. So I'm just going to assume that Charlotte got money. I'm sure they have a good business program, a good finance program. I'm sure they have some notable alumni that have deep pockets. Cool. But Ohio has money. And by the way, again, this is another reason I'm kind of glad we waited. We now know his contract. He's basically getting like $1 million. I believe he was getting like 600 to 700 thousand at OU. He just signed an extension in 2023 that ran to 2026. But again, I have a hard time believing it was money because if he waited till after he won the MAC championship game and said, "Hey, I just won you your first MAC championship game and I got this offer on the table. What's up?" Again, I have no doubt in my mind that OU would have uh spent whatever money it needed to spend to keep him. Again, I'm looking at, you know, OU's ability to match their offer, right? That's what I'm looking at. And he's getting basically $1 million to go to Charlotte. Chuck Martin, who's the coach of Miami of Ohio, he's basically making 1.2 million. Again, I think OU could have matched that. I really do. I think OU could have matched that, made him the highest paid uh MAC school. Let's just look up American. Uh American Conference. The average compensation for AAC coaches is 1.8 million. So again, he's not even one of the highest paid American the AAC coaches. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I don't think it was a money thing. It wasn't a money thing. To me, this seems like a I gotta get out of here move, which makes me question why do you want Need to leave so badly? Again, the timing doesn't make sense. If he would have waited till after he won the championship game, OU would have paid him whatever he wanted. Mind you, he's been at OU for 20 years. He was an assistant when Frank Solich was there, and and that again, that also speaks to the football part of it. You knew you had a safety net at OU. He was there for forever. Frank Solich was there for even longer. Um, he already had a extension. And he's only been the coach for 4 years, and they already gave an extension, right? So again, it just didn't make sense. You're going to Charlotte where you have no ties. He's from Oklahoma. From what I can tell, he has zero ties to the area. Now obviously I don't know his whole family tree. Um, but from what I can tell, he has zero ties to the area. It just didn't make sense. It just didn't make sense as to why he made this move. And again, the timing of it, the fact that he left before the MAC championship game even was played, to me seems like he wanted to get out of there for whatever reason. Now, obviously, if it's just a uh, you know, way of life type of thing, yeah, obviously I'd rather live in Charlotte than live in Athens, Ohio. Okay, that's duh. But again, I just can't see that being the case. Again, the timing of it screams that I got to get out of here. And I don't want to be a cynic, but it's like, what is going on behind the scenes that we don't know? Is it a scandal with him? Is it a scandal with something else at OU? Is it a scandal uh, with a player? Like, I don't. It to me, this seems like he was looking to get out because again, you left for not as much money as you could have gotten. Because again, I think OU would have opened up the checkbook. Charlotte didn't even blow him out of the water with a deal that he couldn't refuse and that OU couldn't have possibly matched, right? Um, And so again, I just don't get it. It seems like he was trying to get out of there for whatever reason, and that's interesting to me. I'm interested to see why that is. I hope I'm wrong. I'm hoping it's nothing like that, but to me, that's the only thing that makes sense. It really is because it wasn't about the money. Again, he got a slight increase in pay, and again, I think Ohio would have easily and happily matched it. Um, it's definitely not for a football move. I mean, unless he just really hated the cold of Athens in the wintertime, I was just like, bro, I can't take this anymore. I gotta get out of here. Charlotte's a much better city. I guess, but again, that's silly to me. I think you stick it out for a little bit longer. You could have gotten a better job at a better place and been good. So I don't know. That's weird. But that's the last part of this. You can thanks for rocking out with me. I know I talked about Ohio for the last two slides, but again, it's my school, man. Let me talk about my school. I don't ever get a chance to talk about my school. Man, come on. If you are still here, I appreciate y'all. If y'all still here, I rock with y'all. You can follow me at Never Forget Me. That's NEVA underscore the number four BRETT underscore ME on all the socials. We are the underscore dope blog on Instagram and threads. We're the dope blog, all one word on Twitter. Our website is the dope.blog. And because you're watching this on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe. And join us next time as we continue to discuss other people's excellence. Deuces. Go Bobcats. Yeah.